Hey, Freedom Diggers, metal detecting coming to you again, where there's no fancy editing, no music, no cute pop-ups, because none of that stuff helps you succeed at finding the good stuff. So we're going to jump right in on this one. These are just a few of the spots that I myself have found to be surprisingly, and sometimes not surprisingly, productive, and it's getting tougher out there to figure out where to go, where you're going to score. There's a lot of us out there, and a lot of cities are clamping down, and people aren't as friendly as they used to be. So you got to get creative if you want to find something worth keeping. So I'm going to get right on it here and hang around here, because the last one is just pure genius, if you ask me, and I know a lot of people haven't thought of it. All right, we're going to jump on my favorite one of my favorites. I discovered this pretty early in my detecting career: soccer fields. A lot of soccer fields are either in public parks, but most of them, in my area at least, are in elementary schoolyards, which makes them fair game. At least around here, it's fair game. Schoolyards, as long as school's not in session, are a green light. And you can score pretty big on these. What I did at one time was I got kind of friendly-ish with a coworker who was a soccer mom, and she told me where her kids go to play soccer, what schools. So I figured, well, they're in a pretty big soccer league, the American Youth Soccer Association or whatever it was, and I wrote down the names of all these schools, figured out where they were. I even looked up the game schedules to make sure I didn't show up on game day, and I went there. And what you want to do is go up and down the spectator lines. The field itself, I kind of stay off them during season. And the field actually isn't as productive as the sidelines. The sidelines, though, wow. People sit in their lawn chairs and they just constantly drop coins. I found, rings, all kinds of stuff. Now, a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't want to waste time finding clad. I'm out there for the silver and the jewelry. Let me tell you, I have pulled as much as $547 in clad in one season. I don't know many people that have pulled that kind of monetary value in silver coin in one season. I'm not saying there aren't people that have, but most silver that you're going to pull out of the ground is melt value stuff. You're not hitting that kind of money. Yeah, it's a lot of holes, but for 547 worth of clad, but I found holes that had like $2-3 in one hole, no lie. So that's one to consider. Another one is any place where people gather to watch 4th of July fireworks shows. That's coming up. Usually city parks. That's where people gather, or where they actually have the shows and people sit and they watch. Excellent spot. Jewelry, coins. You can clean house on them. And if you go, within a couple days afterwards, everything's usually it's practically surface finds. Not a lot of digging, so it's easy pickings too. All right, bus stops. Yeah, believe it or not, bus stop's a good spot. Especially if it's a bus stop that has been a bus stop for a long, long time. Generally, they don't move these around very much once they're established. And people waiting for the bus, they lose stuff. There's the old saying, oh, I lost my bus money. Well, people could be losing bus money back when that money was made out of silver. You could score there, definitely. Here's another one. Land that is adjacent to a coin-operated car wash or a laundromat. Yeah, that sounds kind of weird, but I'll tell you something I know about these places, especially the car washes. The car washes, they have like these catch basins in the bottom of them that have to be cleaned out every once in a while. And usually they'll take them to the grassy area that's just to the left or to the right of the coin-operated car wash. And they dump them out there, rinse them off, and that's it. Well, guess what? Lots of coins, possibly, you know, jewelry that was inside cars, interiors, or anything like that. Maybe someone was using the wand, washing off their car, and guess what happens when you're doing that? Hands get wet, and whoosh, off goes the ring. Yeah, so that's a good spot. Plus, you can score a lot of quarters, a whole bunch. Same with laundromats. Laundromats have the same thing. They have these catch basins, so worth checking out. All right, random vacant lots. This is one of my favorites. I have cleaned house on these. I've done really well. I hit a 1899 Barber dime a couple years ago on a random city lot, and in that same hunt, I found a silver Washington from the 40s. It's out there, and if it's not labeled no trespassing, and it's not obvious that like someone next door is taking care of the lot or something, I'll just park and I'll walk right on there. If someone tells me I shouldn't be there, I'll just leave. You have to take a little bit of risk. I'm not saying you should trespass, but if it's not posted and it's just kind of like a city lot corner, you know, or it's in between two commercial buildings, I'm going to jump on it because a lot of people probably haven't. And that's the thing. You got to think the opposite of how your average detectorist is going to think in some of these situations, because if you're thinking outside that box, your finds box is going to have a healthy rattle to it at the end of your hunt. All right, the outer edges of parking lots. This one is probably thought of by some of us, but I'll tell you why they're productive. They can be trashy, yes, but if it's a decent sized parking lot and it's getting plowed regularly in the winter, people lose stuff and it gets pushed where by the plow? That's right, to the edge of the lot. It gets piled up in the snow, and then more snow gets pushed, and pretty soon anything that was on the surface of that lot ends up well onto the grassy area adjacent to the lot. I tend to pay attention to the lots around my area and see where they're piling the snow in the winter, and then that's where I'm going to go once that snow melts and see if I can't score some easy pickings. Good spot to check. All right, walking trails, especially in the woods. I really like these. The woods is great, especially when it's hot like it is right now. I hunted this morning, and I only lasted for about an hour and a half before it was murdering me, the heat. Scored a little bit, including a silver pennant, but in the woods, it's shaded. It can be, you know, as much as 4 or 5 degrees cooler, which is a big difference when it's hot out. And people go through these trails. Some of them might have been in use for a long time. When I'm in the woods, I like to look around a little bit too. You might notice things like piles of bricks, stacks of rocks that indicate older human activity in the woods, and you might want to go back in there. Don't forget to use your IVX so you don't get poison ivy. I have a video on that. It's very appropriate this time of year. Okay, kayak and canoe launches. We got quite a few of them around my area, and they're great if you're a water hunter. Me, I'm not really much of a water hunter. I am thinking about trying it out this year, though. The water's real shallow in my area. But when people are getting in and out of these kayaks and canoes, some of them, they're silly drunk. They're going to lose stuff. You know, their hands might get wet. They're going to lose jewelry, things like that. Definitely worth a look. Kayak, canoe launches, even your swimming holes along rivers. Excellent spots to check out. And now for the big one. And this is some kind of creative thinking that, you know, To my knowledge, I think I came up with this. I never heard of it anywhere else, but I'm sure other people have thought about it. Maybe they just haven't mentioned it on any of the groups or on YouTube, but here it is. Garage sales. Now, what are you going to do? Show up with your metal detector and you know, well, I'm not here to buy anything, but I am going to metal detect your yard. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is find garage sales where the house that's having them is older. Go there. The people are already outside, so you don't have to knock on a door. And it's an easy icebreaker, conversation starter kind of situation. Maybe buy something cheap, you know. Heck, you might even find something good that you really want. But gives you that opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Your house is really neat and old, and I'm a bit of a history buff, and I was just wondering if I could maybe come by and go through your yard with my metal detector and see if I can't find anything neat. You know, my wife gets really excited if I find something cool and old, and it could just be something like a rusty penny, but she gets a kick out of it, and I bring it home to her. And I'll tell you what, that usually works. It usually does work. You can get some good permissions that way. So that's gonna just about wrap this one up. Sorry for the long gap in between videos. Been busy, haven't been feeling too well here and there, yada yada, whatever, excuses, right? But I do appreciate every one of you for watching and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, that'd be great. I'm really not in this for the money though. I just want to put out some good information, help people out, and help them get the most out of this great hobby. In the meantime, until I see you again, dig free or die. Freedom Diggers Metal Detecting, out.